Hey everybody, this is Nick Baldwin, and today I'm being joined by UFC welterweight Jason Witt, who defeated Bryan Barberena by unanimous decision this past weekend at UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be home. Good to kind of get settled in a little bit and see everybody from the team.
Absolutely. First things first, just a few days after that fight, it was a heck of a fight. It was a back and forth brawl, especially in that third round. How are you feeling physically after that fight?
Man, the biggest part is my knees are tore up from the canvas. Every time I fight, my knees just get murdered. Just they're all scabbed up. They hurt the worst. Everything else is pretty good. My legs hurt a little bit, but that's not too crazy. And my neck finally popped a couple times yesterday, so I can move my neck a little bit. So that helps out a lot.
For sure. So it sounds like all things considered, not too bad. Is that knee sort of the scrapes something you always have sort of that's something that's always happened throughout, like even going back years?
Yeah, no, it's just the UFC canvas. The UFC canvas is just, I mean, it's not slick at all, so it's great for gripping and shooting and not slipping. But man, when you're on the ground, your knees just get completely shredded. I don't know if they got to come with a new canvas or something, but that stuff it definitely shreds my knees up.
Huh, that's interesting. Were you expecting as good of a fight? Because I think a lot of people thought about, hey, your style, Bryan Barberena's style, could be entertaining, but that third round was one of the best rounds we'll see all of 2021. Is that the sort of fight you were expecting going in?
Yeah, honestly, I thought the third round was going to be the entire fight. I really did. I thought that it was going to be a back and forth war for 15 minutes. And so I was a little surprised when round 1 and 2 went so well for me. But yeah, I knew round 3. I knew with Barberena, and I've said this multiple times, that I knew going into that fight it was going to be a Fight of the Night potential, just because he doesn't go away, and I'm pretty durable myself most times. So yeah, it was. I knew round 3 would be the way it was, but I expected all 3 rounds to be that way.
The fight ends, and were you confident about the decision or not as confident? Just because I think the first 2 rounds were pretty clear for you, but I know some people were saying the third could have been a 10-8 for Bryan, depending sort of how you score fights. Were you pretty sure you had done enough, or what were you thinking before the decision was read?
Yeah, so I definitely thought I had round 1 and 2 in the bag for sure. Round 3, I knew was going to be close. I knew I lost that one, so. When it come out as a 28-28 draw, I was a little surprised. You can see at the post-fight announcement that I was really surprised that it was a draw. Like, if you give him a 10-8 round in round 3, you got to give me a 10-8 round in round 2, because I dropped him a couple times, took him down multiple times, and even in round 3, I dropped him. I think I dropped him twice. A couple of them were, one might have been slipped, but at the same time, yeah, I really was surprised at the draw. But I knew going into the third round that if I didn't get finished, I had won the fight.
Yeah. Okay. As we mentioned already, that third round was the best round of the fight, but it was also your opponent's best round. Why do you think that was? Do you think it's a matter of you slowed down a little bit? Do you think he knew he probably needed to finish, so he just turned it up and you weren't expecting it? Like, why do you think he did much better in the third round compared to the first 2?
Yeah, he was tired. I knew he was just as tired as I was. I know that guillotine slowed him down quite a bit in round 2, but that's just the way he is, man. We knew going into this fight that he was gonna be hard to put away. I didn't expect to drop him a couple times either, so that was a plus. But I knew he was one of those types of guys that in the third round he's gonna pressure me, especially if he's losing. He has nothing to lose, you know what I mean? So he has to give all he got, and I knew he was gonna try to finish me, and I really wasn't extremely tired. I thought coming in round 2 to round 3, I was like, oh, I feel good. Yeah, I'm fatigued, but not exhausted. And then the pressure came on. I got clipped a little bit and just wrestling and fighting, and that one turned into, I was exhausted by the end of round 3. But
Yeah,
we knew he was coming out. We knew he was coming out round 3 with willing to win.
I'm curious about what the message was from your corner, from James Krause, going between rounds 2 and 3, because I'm sure he didn't say, okay, you did well with the takedowns in the first 10 minutes, go out and slug it out with Bryan and risk everything. I'm sure that wasn't what he said, but what was he wanting you to do in that third round?
Yeah, I really was trying to repeat round 1 and 2. He said, and I remember him saying this, he goes, we won round 1 and 2, go out I don't care if it's the most boring round you've ever had in your entire life. I don't care if the fans are booing, do not get finished. Let's win this fight. And then Julian Marquez in the background's like, last 5 minutes of the rest of your life. And, you know, those guys in my corner really kind of willed me through that third round. I mean, it wasn't easy, but you can hear them in the background. They had to bleep them out a couple times, but they were losing their freaking mind in round 3. Man, it was crazy, and they really kind of just motivate you so much to win round 3 no matter what.
Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of a round, because I mean, you had your moments too. Like, even though we were saying it was Bryan's best round, I mean, you tagged him a couple times too. Was there a moment in that round where you kind of just thought, okay, the wrestling has to go out the window, like we have to just slug it out, or was it a matter of he sucked you into the brawl? Like, was there a moment where you just knew, like, okay, we're just throwing hands now?
Yeah, I knew I was tired of it. I knew I kept wrestling. I would gas out a little more. So I mean, I don't think I was as tired as I thought I was, because I picked him up a couple times and slammed him, which worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, he kept the pressure on so much, it wouldn't give me any space to really move and not brawl. So if he's throwing punches, I got to throw back. Like, I have to keep his respect, and I can't just let him keep walking me down. So yeah, I mean, he kind of walked me into the brawl, but at the same time, I had to fight that way just to keep the respect and keep him, you know, not just throwing punches.
How hurt were you when he was landing some of his better shots in that round?
I mean, if you ask me and you ask my corner, it's 2 different questions, 2 different answers. I don't think I was super hurt. I think I was more tired. That one hook he caught me with at the beginning, I remember being rocked a little bit and shot. And then there was one point where I shot a single leg or something of that sort, and I got thrown off and like tripped and fell over. And that's when I was on the ground. He was kind of swinging for my head, and I wasn't hurt. I wasn't unconscious, but I was like tired. I was like, okay, if I don't give up, he can't kick me, he can't hit me. So I just kept trying to wrestle from the ground. It didn't look good per se on video, but at least, you know, I didn't get finished that way. So
yeah, no, for sure. What goes through a fighter's mind, like, in a really entertaining back and forth round like that? I'm not even talking about when when he's hitting you, you're on the retreat, but just in general during a really entertaining fight. Like, what's going through your mind? Are you thinking, hey, this is fun, or like, what are you thinking at that moment?
I'm thinking, whose idea was this? Is it who put me in this? No, man. There's 2 parts of it. There's one part where you're just like you have to be nervous. You have to understand that, hey, this shit's getting hectic. There's the other part of you that's like the competitive side. That's like, hey, this is what we signed up for. Like, I'm not losing. I haven't been in this fight the whole time. I didn't beat you 2 rounds just to come out of the 3rd round and lose. So I came out that 3rd round, even when he was brawling, we were brawling with each other. My mindset is like, I'm going to win this fight regardless. Like, I only have 5 minutes. Like, I can do anything for 5 minutes. I know that.
Yeah, there's actually a moment in that 3rd round. I don't remember exactly. It was towards the end, I think, where you lost your mouthpiece, I believe, and you went and grabbed it. I'm sure you've heard this. I'm sure people have asked you about this.
100 times.
What was going through your head at that moment? Maybe not a decision you would make, like, if you're fully like focused or thinking about, hey, is this the right thing to do? But why did you do that, or was it just kind of reactionary?
Yeah, man. So I have a couple teeth knocked out as it is already from just training from the years of they got knocked out about probably like 10 years ago. And so I got sick of fixing them because they kept breaking. So I just took them out. Right. So I have a flipper in my mouthpiece, or I have a flipper now. And then when I wear a mouthpiece, I don't have my teeth in, which sounds weird. But when I'm in the fight, he hit me, and I thought there was a lull in the action. I really did. I thought there was like a couple of seconds where we weren't fighting, which in that time it seemed a lot longer than it did when watching the fight. But I thought at that point, like, oh, we have a lull in action. The referee will stop it. I'll get my mouthpiece back. So I went to grab it, thinking the ref was going to stop it. He didn't, and I just took a couple punches. And then I wasn't hurt. I think a lot of people think I was more hurt than I actually was. But man, it's I've got a lot of shit for that. Like, don't ever do that again. Like, what were you thinking? Like, I realize now, looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have done that. It probably was a terrible idea. But at the time, I was like, man, I got to get my mouthpiece. I don't want to lose more teeth. So I was just thinking, put your mouthpiece back in so we can continue to fight. And then, you know, the fight continued regardless.
Hey, I mean, teeth are important. I can't blame you. Like,
that shit's expensive, man. That shit
I know.
I'm not cutting that 50K bonus because of my teeth.
And hey, I mean, if the ref's not going to grab your mouthpiece, somebody has to.
Yeah,
So
I don't want that shit on the floor. It's gross.
That's funny. Well, it provided a fun moment, sort of like a, maybe you did get a bit of crap from it. Don't do that again. But hey, it was at least funny, and it all worked out in the end. So that's good.
Maybe it helped me earn the fight of the night. So
perhaps. How important was this fight and this win, considering how the last one went? You were 1-2 in the UFC going in. Just how big of a win and how important was this just for your overall UFC career?
I mean, it was do or die. Honestly, it was if I lose that fight, I retire because I'm pretty sure I'd be cut from the UFC. There's no point, I mean, I made it the highest level of fighting, and I'm not young anymore. So that honestly, if I lost that fight, I probably wouldn't be fighting anymore.
Wow.
So that's where kind of my mindset was going into the fight too. Like, you lose this fight, you don't fight now. So I think that third round I had a little bit more motivation to keep going. You know what I mean? I don't want to be done fighting. I think I'm a good fighter and I know what I'm capable of, obviously showing the last fight. So yeah, I mean, but things turn out for the best too. I won the fight, I got a 50K bonus, and I got a renewed contract. So all that really just it was kind of my breakout moment in fighting.
When did you decide that you would probably hang up the gloves if you fell short this past weekend?
I kind of knew. I mean, I was 2-1 or 1-2 in the UFC, and if I went out 1-3, then I'd be in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the record I want. I don't want a 2-2 record either. But you know what? That's what it is. Yeah, I just knew going to this fight, like, it was either win the fight or you're done fighting. That's kind of just
okay.
That's kind of just the obvious answer of what I had in my head.
So was it just at some point in training camp when you kind of felt that way, or was it even after the last fight, after you dropped to 1-2, you're like, okay, I need the next one? Do you remember when you kind of figured that out, or not really?
I mean, you always gotta know that if you're 1-2 in the UFC, like, you don't want to get fired. So I think the last fight really put some pressure on me. That fight sucked, by the way. It still sucks. Yeah, it just puts a little bit of pressure on you to do better and train, and you just kind of have to have that in the back of your head, knowing that, hey, this is the case, and I had nothing to lose. So I mean, if I got beat by Bryan Barberena, that's he's a good guy in the UFC. He's been around for a long time. He's a tough fighter. He's obviously hard to put away. I hit that dude with some shots that I think would put most people away. But yeah, so I just think kind of in the back of your head, you just kind of know, like, hey man, this is what we got to do to move on, and if not, then that's just the way the cards fold.
Is it fair to say that there was more pressure on you going into this fight than any other fight in your career? Just because, as you mentioned, you win, you stay in the UFC, you keep fighting, you probably get a new contract. You lose, you're saying you would have been done, you would have retired. Two very different things, as you said. Was there more pressure on you for this fight than any other fight, or no?
I'd say yes. I mean, you kind of, yeah, in a sense, there has to be, because I mean, if it didn't feel that way though, it didn't feel pressure. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, I don't know how to say that, but I didn't feel the pressure of the fight. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, I I mean, I just went in there like, I gotta win, and this is what I'm gonna do. And like, I know the way my training camp went, that I was feeling good, so my confidence was up, my sleep was good, my recovery was good, my body felt good. So I know going into it, I was gonna perform well. And that's really, like, I just wanted to get the win. That's all I wanted to get. I didn't care. Like, I didn't think about retirement. I didn't think about the next. I didn't even think about the 50K bonus. I didn't think about the renewed contract and even this. I just knew winning that fight was all I had to do. And obviously that turned out well for what I needed to do.
And one more thing about this, what could have been your last fight and retirement, was it just more of a matter of you wouldn't have had any interest in going back to the local circuit or fighting in Bellator or fighting in PFL, fighting outside the UFC, or would you have been done regardless? Like, even if the UFC wanted to keep you around, they said, hey, Jason, it was a great fight, you almost won, we'll give you one more, we'll give you two more. Like, is it a matter of you lose, you retire regardless, or you just didn't want to fight outside the UFC?
I mean, if the UFC gave me a shot, I'd still fight. I don't think that was an option. I don't think losing 3 fights and winning 1 fight was an option for the UFC and for me either. So no, I don't want to go back to the local scene. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I made it to the UFC and that was my goal for a long time, and now obviously I have different goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't want to go back to fighting the local scene. I don't want to fight in Bellator. I just like to step back. Like I feel like I'm not young. I always said, like, depending on how my career went, I would retire by 35, and I'm 34. So like, if I lost this fight, it just felt like a good time. Like, hey man, you made a good run at it. You did the best you could. Then that's what you got to do. But now none of that shit matters.
Well, let me ask you: is that 35 mark still the target, or has that been delayed, or at least forgotten about for now?
It's no, it's like I said, I said it depends on how my career is going, right? So at that time I said that I wasn't in the UFC. So I said, like, if I was in the UFC, that might be a different story, depending on when I'm retiring. So the number is not relevant anymore. It's obviously different. I'm coming on 35 anyways. But yeah, it's not the number anymore. It's what I want to do in the UFC now.
So I think it'd probably be fair to say that regardless, whether you retire next year or in 5 years, your last pro fight will have been in the UFC.
Yeah, that's kind of always been the plan.
All right. I want a few more things about the fight, and we talked earlier about how this is going to go down as one of the best rounds of 2021, and honestly probably on the short list of best fights, especially because of that round 3. How would it feel to you just to be recognized as get that award, round of the year, come December? Is that important to you?
Man, that's kind of a bittersweet. Saying round 3 is round of the year when I lost that round. I don't know how to feel about that, but it's great to be a part of something that is so cool. I mean, like that to be a part of a round 3 or just a part of the a round of the year or even a fight of the year is pretty neat. Regardless of how win, lose, or draw, that's still something that is credible to so many people at the high level of the UFC.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look beyond that one round, you won the fight. So I mean, you can't be there's a lot of fight of the years that someone has to lose, and so I'm sure, like, if you look at Robbie Lawler versus Rory McDonald, for example, I'm sure Rory would have loved to be on the other side of that, but 6 years later, I'm sure he's not devastated that he's still getting recognized for that fight, even though he lost. So
yeah, I mean, there's no comment box next to the win section. It either says win, lose, or draw on that. So to me, that's all that matters.
Yeah. You want some time off after this fight? Just because it was a back and forth fight, it went the distance, or are you hoping to get back in there relatively soon?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a week off to let my body recover a little bit. It's pretty stressed out from the weight cut, from the fight, from just the flights and stuff like that. But no, I'd like to get back in there soon. I don't think I need to do any heavy sparring anytime soon because my brain's probably not recovered from that just yet. But no, I'd like to fight. I think around November it'd be cool. My birthday's in November, so it'd be pretty neat to fight around then.
For sure. You mentioned afterward, after the fight, that you're looking at Max Griffin as a potential next opponent. Why him, and what do you see in him that you think would make for a good opponent?
I've never been one of the guys to call anybody out. That's not been my style my entire career. It's not something I do. I watched his last fight. I thought it'd be fun. I thought him and I would have a good stylistic matchup. I think it'd be another fight that I have potential. It's not something I even talked to my coaches about or even had an idea of. I just kind of spitballed it out there. I think with the renewed contract, I think my coaches have something else for me. So I put all my faith in what they're doing and all my faith in what they're doing and what they say. So whatever they say goes. I just kind of gave a little shout out to see if they could get some people talking.
All right, Jason. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. And congratulations again on the big win this past weekend.